The following deck tag is brought to you by Dragon Shields, the best sleeves in the business, and CARDMARKET, the best place to get your boosters and singles in Europe. Check out the link in the description below to find out a voucher to get a free booster. Now let's head into the deck. Today we are going to build a deck with the most powerful card, the most powerful enchantment in Magic the Gathering. It's called Omniscience. It costs 10 mana. It's an enchantment that have you make cast spells from your hand without paying their mana costs. It's crazy. Let's go. So we are going to start with cards that return a permanent card or an enchantment from the graveyard to the battlefield. I'm talking about Invoke Justice for 5 mana and Repair and Recharge. We're gonna play 3 copies of each of those spells. And the sole purpose of it is that we are going to try to play on turn 5 Omniscience and then go off and play an insane amount of powerful spells. In the early game we don't do so much, so it's a perfect place to ramp. It's a perfect time to ramp with 2 copies of Bird of Meletis, great defensive ramp card, and Omen of the Hunt. Then let's look at some removal also for the early game. I play a copy of Cleansing Nova, destroying creatures but also artifacts and or enchantments. Supreme Verdict also for 4 mana. You can wipe the board and then return the Omniscience. Or Knight of the Doctor, it's also an enchantment that destroys all creatures, so you can also get it back. And of course we need to include a
Rat of God.
Now let's look at some great card draw spells. First of all we play Lorien Revealed. It can help us get an island or also a plains, I'll explain later, and I also can draw 3 cards. Strategic Planning is great to get your Omniscience in the graveyard and then find also a spell that brings it back. And Thirst for Meaning can also draw you 3 cards and you can discard that Omniscience to put it in the graveyard. We continue the card draw with 2 copies of Fateful Mending. The live game also is really good in this deck and we can discard our Omniscience. Broker's Charm can draw 3 cards but also destroy an enchantment or have a creature deal damage to another one. And Up the Beanstalk is also great because of the big cards we play in the deck. So now the fun begins. Let's talk about the big spells. First of all we play a Discontinuity. It's great for when your opponent tries to counter something on your turn, but also you can end the turn at the beginning of his turn and essentially time walk. Getting white mana is important in this deck, so I also play this Emeria's Call. And if you don't want to play it as a land, you can play it as a sorcery creating 2 4/4 flying white angel warrior tokens. And of course we need to play 3 copies of
Omniscience.
It's the card we are building our whole deck around, the powerful enchantment that has us play all the other cards for free. Now we don't only play Omniscience that has a crazy effect, we also play one with the Multiverse. It's similar but different. You can play any card for free, so that will be your Omniscience if you can find it. And of course you can also play the top card of your library, helping you to find another big hitter like this World Spell. It can help you search for a big permanent, or it could also have you play a non-saga permanent. There are maybe 500 or even 1,000 big creatures in Magic, but here is the list I'm playing in the deck to kick my opponent's butt. I will start with Colossal Sky Turtle. This is mainly for the reason that I can use it in the early game as well to get something back from my graveyard or to bounce something out of the game, returning it to my opponent's hand. Now the next creature is already a little bit bigger, it's also a little bit more expensive. It's Elish Norn Grand Cenobite. It's a great defensive card, sweeping all the tokens off the board because it gives your opponent's creatures -2/-2 and buffs your own creatures. Next up, a real powerhouse. It's called Galta and Mavren. It's a 12/12 trampling dinosaur vampire, and when you attack, choose one. You create a tapped and attacking XX green dinosaur token with trample, where X is the greatest power of other attacking creatures, and we have other big ones like this Sarah Emissary, for example. When it enters the battlefield, you choose a card type and you just have protection from the chosen card type. Crazy powerful spell. And there are more crazy powerful spells in the colors green, white and blue. What about this Soul of Emancipation? I really like it because when it enters the battlefield, you destroy up to 3 other target non-land permanents. It's crazy powerful, and you don't mind giving some tokens to your opponent. Doesn't care because you have Elish Norn out there. Now you know, here at Casual MTG Decks, the flavor is important, and the most wonderful, big, amazing creature there is out there is probably the Tarask, although in Magic the Gathering it's not that big. But hey, I'm gonna play it because it can straight up attack your opponent. It's a 10/10. It fights, it has haste, and it has ward, and when this fellow is out there, Avacyn, Angel of Hope, it's also indestructible. Hey, all the fun, good fun, an 8/8 flying indestructible angel that makes other permanents also indestructible. Maybe you are looking at your opponent scooping at this moment. Now to finish up the deck, let's talk about the lands. This is a 3-color deck, but white is a very important color. So let's try to make this mana base work and not make it too expensive. Let's start with a Hinterland Harbor. It gives you some green, some blue, and it comes untapped into the battlefield if you control a forest or an island. I also play Adarkar Wastes. It can give you white or blue, and we can do it immediately when it enters the battlefield, so that's also important for your turn 5 reanimation spell. Prairie Stream is in there because it's a plains and it's an island, so it works with Hinterland Harbor, and we can also search it later with our Lothlorien Revealed. And Canopy Vista is also a plains, it's also a forest, and we can also put it into the battlefield untapped if we have 2 or more basic lands. And it shouldn't be a problem to have those basic lands, because we can search up basic lands with this card, Brokers Hideout. It gives us a life, always good in the early game when you're playing a more controlling style, and of course we can get the basic land we want. We also play 1 copy of Sparrow's Headquarters. It's a bit of an expensive card. You can of course put more copies into it, but I try to stick to a somewhat budget with this deck. Celestial Colonnade is also a nice card. It also gives white and blue mana, and I can even animate it and turn it into a creature. Now let's look at our basic lands. We like big monsters, big nice full art basic lands. We are going to include 3 islands, 3 forests and 7 plains because of the reanimation spell. So this is the deck. It's around 120 bucks, 114, 115. A great fun deck to play, to learn to play a controlling style of Magic. So let me know in the video what you think. Let me know in the video which big creature you would put in our Omniscience build. And as always, thanks for watching and keep it casual. Bye!